Welcome to the Toastmasters Experience. My name is Evelyn. Get inspired by today's Toastmasters Insights. Enjoy the show. And welcome to another episode of the Toastmasters Experience. I'm excited and delighted to have a good friend of mine, Maria, on the show today. Welcome, Maria.
Hi, Evelyn.
It's so lovely to have you here. Now, we're going to start at the very beginning. What motivated you to join Toastmasters?
Gosh, it was so long ago, but I do tell this story to people who are willing to listen. I was at a school retreat. It was just for staff members. And throughout the day, we had various activities, but there was one session in the day where we could do whatever we wanted. So I was with some other members of staff, friends that I'd known for quite some time, and Rob, one of the staff members, just out of the blue said, "So what do you like doing on the weekends? What are your hobbies?" And that's when it hit me. I didn't have any hobbies. I didn't have any interests. I need to go back a little bit further in my timeline. My husband had had a major motor accident in 1996. We'd been married for about 8 years. We had 2 small children, and I was pregnant with number 3. So he had this major accident. He was off work for 4 years. He was in hospital for 4 months. He was left disabled. There was a whole series of things that needed me to help him. So in the process of all of this, plus having 2 small kids, plus being pregnant and having baby number 3, life was just busy with everything else and not me. So I'd forgotten all my hobbies. I'd forgotten everything that I was interested in because you just focus on family. That's it. So when Rob asked me, "What do you like doing?" I didn't know what to say to him. And I thought, I don't know. I don't have anything. And that left me feeling really sad and vacant, that the only thing that I had besides work was tending to everybody else at home. So in thinking about it, and he goes, "Oh, surely there must be something that you used to enjoy doing." And you go, "Well, to be honest, I really enjoyed speaking, whether it be debating or whether it be giving speeches or whether it be hosting. I really enjoy speaking." So from there, I don't know where I'd heard about Toastmasters. I don't know whether it was on TV or in the media somewhere, but I knew there was an organisation where you could go and speak, not knowing anything else. So I Googled. I looked up Toastmasters and I found 2 that were in my area, one being Parramatta and the other one being Bosley Park. Well, Bosley Park was the one that reached out, and I've been going there ever since. Absolutely love it.
Well, how many clubs are you currently in?
I belong to 4 clubs. So 3 here in Sydney. I belong to Bosley Park, Rhodes, Stage Time, which is a specialty club. And I belong to a club and this is the byproduct of COVID. I belong to a club in Winnipeg, Canada. Mm-hmm. It's called Keystone Speakers, and it's all for developing an accredited speaker, which was a journey that I was on pre-COVID days.
Okay. And are you still on that journey?
It's been interrupted with what I do at the moment in regards to trio and district, because that takes up quite a bit of my time, which I enjoy, don't get me wrong. But it was interrupted after the death of my father in 2021, because I'd been caring for him, and then with the death of my husband in 2022.
Oh, okay.
So there were a few factors that sort of put it on pause, because in order to work on being an accredited speaker, it is a 3-year process that you build up, and having that interrupted means that I'd have to start from scratch.
So you just said you're in the trio. Now, can you just explain what the trio is?
Okay, so in every club, you've got club executive officers, you've got an area director, you've got a division director, and for every district, you've got a group of people who help run the district. The trio is headed by the district director. Then there's the program quality director, which this year I am. And then you've got the club growth director. For me, it seems to be a passage. So starting off with club growth director, you get an overview of, well, how do we develop clubs? How do we promote clubs? How do we sustain the ones that we have? So it's all about growing our membership and our club base. From there, moving into program quality director, which is all about the education. So it's not much point in having the clubs if they don't understand what the purpose is and developing their own educational goals. And from there, hopefully, if you get elected, you move into district director, which is the overseer of all the activities of the district. At the moment, as I said, I'm at the program quality director.
So next year you will be the
District
district.
director. Assuming that I get elected, of course, there could be someone else who's far better qualified than I am that comes out of the blue. And you know what? And if that's what the members want, I always went into this thinking, look, if the members want to elect me into the club growth director, so be it. If they don't, it just means that there's somebody else that they feel that can do the job better. So it was never a point of, I never went into it thinking, oh, I'm going to do this because I really enjoy leadership and I really want, make my mark. It was more, I felt that Toastmasters had served me well. I have gotten a lot out of it. I've spoken nationally and internationally, and I've managed to write. I was a co-author in a book. I've written a published paper. I've spoken at various educational and non-educational conferences. So I've gotten a lot out of it. I felt that it was my turn to give back.
That's a great answer.
Thank you. Thank you. And I mean it with all sincerity.
Yeah.
I mean it with all sincerity. Because if I go back to, why did I join Toastmasters? At that time, my 19-year-old son was very hesitant in wanting to get out there and mix with other people and lacked the confidence. So I dragged him along with me under the guise that, I don't want to go by myself with a whole bunch of randoms. You come with me. And he stayed in Toastmasters for 10 years. And over that 10-year period, I could see the growth, the development, the confidence. It was incremental, but it happened. And I value that. And sorry, Evelyn, another reason why I do tend to stay in it, I am a child of migrant parents. My father was very outgoing and made friends all over the place. My mother, on the other hand, never learnt to really communicate in English. And I think she led a very isolated and lonely life. Because of that, and looking around at such, the multicultural richness that we have, I don't want anyone to feel that way. So if in any way I can assist in people finding their voice, using their voice, I'm happy to do so.
So how many years has that been? You said 90s, or what year did you actually join?
So 96, my husband had his accident. No, this was 2009, October 2009.
October 2009. Okay. So you've been a member for almost, coming up on 16 years. So what has Toastmasters, I think you've answered the question, but what has Toastmasters done for your personal and your professional life?
I think I never thought that I lacked confidence, but I think what it's done for me on a personal level, it doesn't inhibit me from speaking to, as I would have said back then, those randoms. It doesn't inhibit me from speaking. It gives me the self-assuredness, and also I feel my authority to speak. So if I'm in a social situation where, you're sitting there and you don't know so many people, I can, drawing on, tabletop experience, I start a conversation about the most random thing. If I sense that the person next to me is scrambling for responses, it enables me to keep the momentum going and perhaps break the ice, whether they want to or not, I don't know. Yeah. But at least it enables me, I think it's given me the sense of, I can do this, I can speak, and I suppose I can be the conduit in an awkward situation. That's me personally. Professionally, it has refined. I always thought I was a good speaker, but it has enabled me to refine how I speak and how I get my message across. I've noticed that, and my background is in education, and I've noticed a lot of members, and I wouldn't have done this beforehand, but I noticed a lot of people in education, let's say academics, who don't really speak that well. But I never would have realized this beforehand. I find myself listening more to how they say it as opposed to what they say. And I think that also enables me to be a little bit more discerning as to who I listen to. So it takes away that mystique or that air of wow, they're a university lecturer or they're a principal, and can I talk to them? Absolutely,
Yeah.
especially when I hear them speak.
Yeah.
Absolutely, because I know my content and I know my voice.
Has there been something about Toastmasters that has totally surprised you?
Yes, actually, it surprised me as to how many people fear speaking in front of strangers. That really surprised me as to how many people that you look at and you think, wow, you look like you've got it all together. And they tell you, I am deathly scared of speaking. And in fact, yesterday in stage time, we did have a guest that came, and they were lovely. They were lovely guests. And at one stage, especially with the 2-minute speeches, I said, "Oh, do you want to get up and give one?" The look of fear on his face. Now, this man holds a position of responsibility in his normal day job. He deals with a lot of, I think he works with disability. So he's always dealing with people in crisis, and so I suppose he's got it all together at work. But the look of fear on his face, as if I can't get up in front of people, I think that surprises me more than anything. I knew that public speaking was one of those things that people were really scared of, but the depth of fear that people have, that I think surprises me.
Yeah, I'm the same. I'm pretty confident when it comes to my job, but if I know that there's one Toastmaster like in the audience, I get really nervous. I don't know. I think I'm going to, get some feedback but that's really interesting. I think that happens to more people
Mm.
than you expect, especially if you are in an advanced club. I have noticed people who come along like you were saying, competent speakers, competent employers, or, owners of businesses. But as soon as they speak in front of people who they think are going to judge them, maybe that's it. We feel people are going to judge us. I don't
Yeah.
know. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's the other area that surprises me too. When you ask for someone, okay, well, do you have any feedback, especially if they're new, and they go, oh, no, 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 I couldn't possibly give you I said, but you've got an opinion.
Yeah.
That's feedback.
Yeah.
There's no right or wrong answer. It's just your opinion. And I think especially the new Toastmasters feel that I don't have anything of value to contribute, when in fact they do. So
Mm.
I suppose that surprises me too, that in your day job you hold positions of responsibility and you're probably always giving feedback to other members of staff, or you're involved in various self reviews. But when it comes to Toastmasters, you think, oh, well, you've been Toastmastering for so many years, you must be better than me. Well, it's not a case of being better. It's a case of just I've had more experience. But your input is also valuable.
Mm. Yes, yes, definitely. And I find sometimes the guests' feedback or evaluation, they've got more like, oh my God, wow, that was really good.
Yeah, different
Yeah.
different perspective. Absolutely, absolutely. But they don't feel that they're at that stage of giving
Yeah.
feedback that's worth listening to. So I
Yeah.
suppose that surprises me.
Because you are in your school teacher, is that correct? Or
Well, I work at head office now,
yeah,
but yeah, I am a teacher.
yeah. So you work in education. So how has communication changed over the last few years?
Wow, how has communication changed in the classroom? Or
Yeah, like the younger people who are coming through, with AI, with social media. Have you noticed a change in communication styles?
Yes, absolutely. I have noticed a change in communication style. I think communication with young people seems to reflect their interaction with social media. It's quick and it bounces from topic to topic to topic. And I think that's a reflection of how they've grown up swiping, scrolling. Their attention span only lasts for, it used to be 7 seconds. I don't know whether I think it's gone down, it's been reduced. since, because we live in that age where we either scroll and we keep, what do they call it, doom scrolling. We're just moving it along until we find that which piques our interest for a limited period of time. So I've noticed that in dealing with kids, it's really hard to get them to sit still for a period of time, because they are on edge. They're antsy, because that's what they're used to in having their phone. Their phone vibrates, pings, rings, whatever it does, and they're on heightened alert. They're
Yeah.
like little meerkats. So in speaking to kids, in trying to get a message across, it needs to be short, needs to be sharp. It can't be a long passage of information. It needs to be delivered in snippets. So the way we deliver as educators has needed to change. And where we're finding, and I suppose this is opinion, and again, my opinion over being formulated over so many years, where we're having the most difficulty is with some of our older members of staff who perhaps have a certain way of doing things, and now having to integrate new technology and new methods of doing, of delivering information content to kids that are learning differently, the
So,
way you and
yeah.
I would have learned back
Yeah.
back in the day.
So they're learning differently, but how are they communicating? Like, how are they speaking? Do you find that there's been a difference in the last few years?
Yeah, they speak as they text.
Okay.
LOL, OMG, like all of those abbreviations. There is another language that they understand. So, and I find that it's at times difficult, and I don't know that I'm generalizing. It's at times difficult to bring in something that's been relevant in my life as an example, let's say, or to use as an analogy, because they have no concept of that, because
Yeah.
their generation is so different. And it's and by when I mean by generation, a generation is defined by the changes within technology, and the the generations that we have, generation Alpha, X, Y, Z, has a shorter period of time, whereas a baby boomer or the builder generation covered a longer period of time. And you could say that people born within this range had similar values and approaches to life. Whereas the changes now, and again, communication with this generation needs to change. So the alpha born from 2000, and I'm trying to remember my numbers, 2006 onwards, and you had Generation Z, which was from 96 onwards.
Hmm.
The time period is shorter, and there's a huge there is a difference. I don't know whether I can say huge, but there is a difference. There is a marked difference between each of the generations, and the generations
Are
are
getting shorter.
getting smaller and smaller.
Yeah, because the technology is just so quick,
It's
isn't it?
a
So,
generation is defined by a significant change in technology, in the way we do
wow.
things.
Yeah. So I that to me, you saying that would make Toastmasters probably more important than ever for younger people to join.
Mm.
Yeah. So in the education system in Australia, do they have like courses for public speaking or anything to help them come along or anything that's required?
It's interesting you should say that in regards to public speaking, it's always been viewed as an extracurricular activity. So you would engage in perhaps debating or public speaking outside of your normal classwork, depending on the teacher that you have, obviously. I used to always incorporate it in every class that I had. So especially when kids had to give a presentation. So we would always spend a lesson on how to present. That I don't think is the case in most classes, depending on the ability of the trainer of sorry the trainer of the teacher. I've noticed that in a lot of schools now, that opportunity to engage in public speaking is being diminished. And again, because we're seeing a shift in the attitude of new teachers coming through,
Mm.
that they don't have the time to do this, and there's a many more layers attached to it. How much teachers have to do as opposed to what we used to have to do back in the old days. Teachers now are finding that they don't have the capacity to offer anything extracurricular because there is so much that they need to do in setting programs, in writing reports, in assessments. There's extra layers. And of course now teachers are viewed as not only the educator of children, but they're doing the parenting, they're doing the monitoring of mental health, they're doing the monitoring of physical health. There's a lot more placed on the expectations of what a teacher's role is. So anything fluffy, such as public speaking and debating, which would be great on a Friday night, I think that capacity has been eroded.
So because teachers are younger now, they probably don't realize the value of communication. Well, we recognize the value of speaking because we're in Toastmasters. And is that probably why you've brought that into your programs? Because of your interest in Toastmasters? It's not anything that anybody would tell you to do.
Well, it's also partly due to my professional background in being a careers advisor and the importance of being able to present yourself in order to apply for a job, because it's such a competitive market. So for me, it was always a case of I need to prepare you for life outside of school. So when you've got to be on time. And I think this is the beauty of Toastmasters, because we do run to a schedule. We do run to, we start at this time and we finish at this time. A job interview is no different. If you're going to be interviewed at 10:30, you need to be there at least 15, 20 minutes beforehand. You don't arrive on time. If you're there on time, you're late. And it's the same with our Toastmasters. I hate to say it, I think we've sort of lost that value in a lot of our Toastmaster clubs as well. It seems like it's that just in time, and especially hybrid. Members will come on. If it starts at 7:30, they'll be on there 7:30, not at 7:20. So the value, just going back to, why incorporate it, and I think it should be incorporated, because you're going to have to communicate with people outside of school. And, what a great opportunity that Toastmaster presents, that you're able to practice that. And you're able to practice, I'm being there on time. The meeting's already started. Of course it started because it's 7:30. If you're late for a job interview, you miss out. So, and present yourself. How do you shake hands? How do you look somebody in the eye? How do you give that how do you make that connection and show a genuineness about you? We do all that. I think we've lost the art of handshaking, though, Evelyn. We need to reintroduce handshaking and clapping for a purpose, because we want to celebrate. We want to be able to recognise and say, you know what, that was really good. These are just some of the things that I've seen changes in some of the Toastmaster clubs.
Yeah, I never thought about Toastmasters like preparing you for a job, but you're absolutely, I think because I'm older and I'm going into retirement, so I don't think about that, but it really does prepare younger people for
think about the impromptu speaking. How many times that you'll be in an interview and they'll ask you a random question to see how you think about the solution. Are you thinking laterally? Are you thinking outside the box? Are you thinking in another dimension? And I've been on interview panels. I've been interviewed, and I've also been on interview panels where another panelist will say, will ask something random, such as there are 3 elephants in the safari. I don't know. They'll bring in something really random, and they just want to see that there is no right or wrong answer, but they want to see how you respond to that answer. So table topics is a fabulous vehicle to practice responding to the unknown. So many of our kids who run online businesses, they may have podcasts, they may have retail businesses that they're selling wares through Instagram or TikTok. How do they promote those businesses? That's 30-second pitch. How do you promote yourself as a brand?
Yeah, I know Toastmasters is so valuable. Yet we do find ourselves at a stage where it is harder to get members in, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I don't know, that's something we need to probably, Toastmasters needs to work on.
It is difficult, and it's amazing, because when you do speak to people and say, someone, and I come across people all the time who goes, oh no, I'm so nervous, I could never get up and speak like you do. I said, well, there's Toastmasters.
Mm.
Right. So there are many people who have no idea, and you say, well, it's ABC, it's all of these things. So they go off to a meeting, and I think this is where we've lost some people. They go off to a meeting, but the meeting does not meet the expectations that we have built it up to be. I spoke to someone the other day, and I showed them an agenda that we do, and they go, "Oh, I didn't know you could do that." I said, "Well, your VPE would prepare an agenda, and you'd work towards it." No, no, we don't use pathways. It's not encouraged. It's not supported. So in many cases, I think a lot of our Toastmaster clubs have become social clubs,
Yep.
which is great. It's a great bringing together of people, but and again, I liken it to McDonald's. If I go to Belgium and I want to buy a Big Mac, I know what to expect regardless of where I am because the formula remains the same. If the formula here is diluted and the pathway program, our educational program, is not supported and encouraged, that member who, again, keeping in the back of our mind that they're terrified of public speaking, they've taken the initiative to walk into a group of random strangers, expose themselves, with all their vulnerability. If they don't walk away from that meeting thinking, yeah, this could work because of all of the processes put in place, why would they then go to another one if that's their first experience and their only experience?
Yeah.
So we need to come back and streamline our meetings to make sure that, yes, we follow. And you can have your variations. Why not? I have a film review in one of them. Somebody else has telling a joke, and stage time we don't do impromptu speaking, but we've got the 2-minute speeches. Like we all do something different, but the formula remains the same. Developing impromptu speaking off the top of your head and prepared speeches. Now, if that formula is not followed and that vulnerable visitor who walks into a club where it starts late, it's not prepared, people are just speaking randomly, there's no order or semblance of a meeting, why would they bother to come back to another meeting if that's their only impression? So it is our responsibility, and I feel that it's my responsibility for this year at least, being program quality director, looking after the education that we get the message across to our club officers. If you want your membership to increase, because there are inquiries, but if you want those members to come back and say, yep, this is something worth doing, you need to look at how are you delivering the promise that Toastmasters is making.
Now, Maria, you shared that Toastmasters is your hobby. but do you have any other hobbies outside of Toastmasters?
Oh gosh, I haven't. No, I haven't for a while. I suppose. I hate to say it, research. It's another hobby.
Oh, okay.
Do I go rock climbing or dancing? No, I do gym. Is that a hobby?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Torture for some.
It's a necessary hobby at this stage in my life. I think because it's just, but I do enjoy this. I find this is quite relaxing, and being able to speak at conferences, I find I enjoy that as a hobby.
Yeah. What about any other books that you could recommend? Any resources that have found, besides Toastmasters, that have thought, after reading a book, oh my God, this book is amazing, everyone should read it. Is there anything you can recommend?
There's one in particular, and I say this to so many people. It's an Oprah book, and it's more in regards to young children, but I think it can be applied to anyone. And it's titled "What Happened to You." So very often in education, when we come across a child that's just not behaving the way we expect them, but rather than saying what's wrong with you, we should be asking what happened to you and looking at all the external forces that have impacted on your being, your growing up, what has influenced you. And I think once we have that mind shift of asking what happened as opposed to what's wrong, we look at people differently. And again, if you want to apply it to Toastmasters, people aren't born with that fear of speaking. I absolutely believe it. Something has happened along the way. Someone has ridiculed them. Someone has said, you can't. Someone has made fun of their accent, or someone has said, that, sit down, we can't understand you. Something has happened. And I think once we look at, again, going back to Toastmasters, we look at those beautiful people that come in, that choose to come in and say, I'd really like some help in this area. If we ask the right questions, what is it that you want to achieve? I want to be able to speak confidently. Okay, why do you believe that you don't have the confidence? Well, I get nervous, I get this. And often when you drill down, someone has said to me, something has happened. And I think once we can overcome that and we understand, because I think it's our responsibility in the club, once we understand what happened to them, we can work better with them and help them overcome that hurdle. So that's the book. And I apply that to everyone. I think when I meet people for the first time, and especially people who are not particularly nice, I suppose, for want of a better word, the question I always ask myself, what has happened to them to make them respond in such a negative manner or act in such a antisocial manner? I do have another book, and that was given to me by my very good friend Dale, and it looks at leadership but through heart and hands, as opposed to being a leader and being in charge. And the beautiful Dale gave it to me in regards to taking on this leadership position, that leading is not necessarily commanding, but rather leading with your heart and understanding, and then doing with your hands.
What is the name of the book and the author?
Head and Heart, The Art of Modern Leadership.
Who's the author?
Kirsten Ferguson. That's been a bit of an eye-opener as well, reading about other people's experiences in leadership and how they approach leadership. I firmly believe leadership is not led from the front, but it's led from behind, and empowering those people around you to do the best they can.
This leadership route, when you joined Toastmasters, were you even thinking about it?
No, I just wanted to compete and I wanted to win.
So Maria, as far as competing goes, how many different competitions have you won? How high have you gone?
I have come second in the district. In District 64, I was their Table Topics District Champion. District 70, come second in International, second in Humorous. Evaluation, I competed in district, but I didn't place. Evaluation, I think, is not my. There are much better people at evaluation than me.
Wow! So you've gone all the way up to district with second place, and okay. And what do you like about competing?
I think I like the ability to better myself in taking a speech and refining it, and in enhancing that.
Yeah. So the speaking involved in leadership, because obviously you can't compete when you're a leader, but you're speaking as well. So do you find the speaking different from being a leader versus just being a member and entering competitions?
I think in speaking as a leader, it's more, this is the idea that we have. I really want to move you along with my vision and with my idea. So it's more motivational, it's more encouraging, whereas some of the other speeches that I've given, I think I just wanted to shift your thinking, which I suppose is shifting your thinking also in leadership. I'm trying to shift your thinking in following what I'd like. But in the prepared speeches that I'd given, they came from a basis of some emotional response in me that I needed to share. One of my favourite speeches is when I speak about my father and holding his hand as he was dying, and the importance of hands, really. And it starts off with my father, stopping me from running out the front door and grabbing me with his great big digits of fingers, but feeling safe and protected. And then at the end, sort of comes full circle where I'm holding his hand as he passes away.
Yeah.
So that transference of love. So from his big digits holding me, and then I'm holding his, and you feel all the love and everything like that. Yeah. And it's similar. And I just felt that, and again, I suppose my motivation there was that, besides telling the story of my dad, who I was very close to, it was understanding the importance of touch because mind you, we've just come out of COVID, but the importance of touch that so often, are you okay is always accompanied by a touch on the shoulder, and I talk about, my first boyfriend, Greg. We used to stand behind the tree after school, but that first touch of holding, of fumbling and looking for that right, comfortable manner in holding hands and all the emotion that goes with that. Yeah. So it's such a powerful emotive response, the power of touch. And again, coming out of COVID where we weren't allowed to touch anyone, what did that do to our psyche? So in that respect, giving that speech was all about shifting the way you thought. There was another one of my favorite speeches was in looking at the perfectly imperfect environment that we live in, and yet it's so beautifully perfect, but it's imperfect. And I spoke about a young child that I had in one of my classes who had every abnormality you can imagine, but always took the time to listen to what other people were doing when you think that she wasn't listening.
Yeah.
So it's just, and it brings in, maybe that speech had too much in it, but it also brought in the Japanese art of kintsugi, where, a broken vessel is put back together with gold lacquer. So it eventually becomes what everyone else would have thrown away, our broken people, our broken relationships, our broken emotions. What people would have thrown away is actually created and crafted, and it becomes more valuable. How much time can we invest in other people who seemingly are broken? How much more valuable that becomes. So again, I want to shift your thinking.
Marie, it's been such a pleasure speaking to you today. I've really, really enjoyed it. Just one last question. What advice would you give someone who is considering joining Toastmasters?
I would say do it. Absolutely do it and stick it out. I would suggest that it's one of those opportunities that you get to join like-minded people who have also started off in exactly the same position that you're in. They were nervous, they were unsure, they felt that they weren't heard. I would strongly suggest that you come and start speaking when you are comfortable, but don't give up. I believe that if you do not have your voice, like my mother, your hands would be tied behind your back and you miss out on so much. And I don't want that for anyone. There are enough hurdles in this life without being able to speak up for what you need. And if it's not for you, maybe it's for your mother, as in my case.
Thanks again. Thanks again, Maria. Thank you so much for your company. Please tune in next time to the Toastmasters Experience.